No doomer fuel. This isn't doomer fuel. This is to understand what situation we're in. You need to understand how bad things are so we understand how good they can get. Okay, let's talk about something super quick, okay? Who here knows about Tyler One? Running down mid, you know, all that stuff. Tyler One is a content creator, well known for playing League, among other games. He also does bodybuilding, and he's married, happily married. He's an interesting guy. He's been streaming for way longer than I've been here, and playing games for maybe even longer than I've been alive. But with that being said, I've never been somebody who's kept up with Tyler One that much, but something that I always keep up with is when it comes to people suffering, especially when there's something we as a people, as a country, can do something about it. And so recently something crossed my field of vision the other day, and it is just mind-blowingly, just absolutely, it made me genuinely mad. I was like, my day be so fine. And then boom, I saw this from Tyler and his wife, and I just went into a fit of rage, if I'm going to be honest with you. I got really upset because these things make me really upset. And so what is it? Well, they went to the doctor, and I'll let them explain it so I don't have to. This is Michaela, his wife, retweeted by Tyler, himself. Saturday, June 17th, Tyler drove me to the emergency room after experiencing the worst pain in my life. After receiving 2 ultrasounds and multiple blood tests, where we were informed that I was going through an ectopic pregnancy and that we were going to lose our baby. There was no time to process this, as I needed to be rushed into the emergency room, surgery because my life was at risk. It was truly a harrowing moment for both of us. Once I was in surgery, the doctors did not realize the severity of my rupture until they were able to see inside my stomach. They discovered that I had lost half of my blood. My blood loss was so severe that I needed to have 2 blood transfusions. The average person needs about 12 to 15 for blood. After my surgery, I was at 5.6. We have been trying to start a family since February. Back in March, before Tyler's trip to Europe, we found out I was pregnant. However, during the middle of our trip, we believed that I was experiencing a chemical miscarriage and was no longer pregnant. This was the reason for me leaving the trip so soon. We never ended up getting checked in we never ended up getting checked in regards to what happened back then. So we think that it could have potentially been the reason my tube was damaged and the cause of the ectopic pregnancy. I had absolutely no symptoms of the pregnancy for 6 weeks, and I was pregnant during the course of mid-May to June. For one, they didn't need to make a statement like this. This is their personal stuff. I am glad that they made it. One of the big reasons is because more people need to know about the things women go through. For one, when it comes to things like abortion care, as sad as it, I feel incredibly sad for them. And this is the type of thing that nobody wants to go through, and you never want anybody to go through, but it's something that happens. And I feel really bad for them, and I hope they're able to get through this situation. I feel bad for their entire family. I hope they all get well, and I'm glad Michaela's still here with us. Honestly, I don't know too much about these people, but what I do know is that I think they deserve a good life. I think they deserve to build the family that they want, if I'm going to be honest with you, as far as I know. With that being said, Tyler went on to give a little bit more insight into his point of view, which could be useful because he was able to see everything from the outside, since he wasn't the one who was, bleeding to death and on the operating table and needed like a bunch of blood transfusions, right? Not that it was like easy for him, but I thought it'd be very interesting to understand everything, right? The whole process has been extremely hard for both of us. We lost our child after announcing the pregnancy to our families. We will be okay. Fortunately, even after losing the tube to surgery, we are still able to start a family and plan to do so, and I am fully healed. Thank you for your understanding. I feel really bad. I feel really, really bad for her. I really do. And I'm glad that they're all okay, and I hope that they have good healing. With that being said, Tyler went on his stream to come back to greet his fans and everything, and he went in to talk about some of the issues and some of his opinions and his feelings about what happened as he went through the issue with his wife. I thought it'd be insightful for all of us, for what we do here, to think a little bit about this. Okay, let's hit it.
I said she had an ectopic pregnancy, which is, long story short, is it's not. It was only like she was only like 5-6 weeks pregnant, which is like almost 2 months, which isn't too bad if you think about it. It's kind of early. Basically, I'm not a doctor, but I've done enough research. Basically, what happened was, okay, if there's any toddlers in the chat, please mute. This is a little bit rated R.
Oh, no.
So the sperm, there's tubes.
Okay, an ectopic pregnancy is when a pregnancy is started inside of the fallopian tube, which is the tube that connects the UTI to the egg basket, the ovary. It will kill you. You will die if it's allowed to go forth. That's why pregnancy, in and of itself, is incredibly dangerous for women. And it's not even like, oh, pregnancy can be dangerous. Pregnancy is dangerous. For one, your organs get all goofed up. And two, anything that can go wrong may go wrong. And this is one of these situations. If we didn't have modern medicine like we did today, Michaela would have just simply died. Simply just died. End of story. But we can skip forward a little bit.
See, Kayla couldn't stand up for longer than probably 7 seconds before she... Well, unfortunately, when that happens, if it's not true, you get like a shot and it kills it right away, so you can keep your tube. Fortunately, that's not happened with Kayla, and it grew so long we didn't know she wasn't having symptoms, and it burst into the it burst in the tube, and it opened the tube, and Kayla was bleeding horribly inside. Actually, so terribly that her hypoglemic whatever level is average at 12.
It's okay, bro.
Dropped to 5.7. So I was talking about it, bro. So she was internally bleeding terribly. It was to the point where Kayla couldn't even walk. Looking back at it, it's crazy. Kayla couldn't stand up for longer than probably 7 seconds before she would faint and collapse. Every time, no matter what, that's it. So we got to the ER, which, by the way, let me talk about this for a second. I don't want to dangle too much on this because it makes me mad and I get a little bit emotional. By the way, bro.
Understandable. His wife almost bled to death.
These people that work at ERs, okay, I get it. They see a lot of terrible stuff, and doctors and nurses, they see a lot of terrible stuff, right, bro? I get it. But you have to act like you care. It's part of the... I'm gonna cuss. Test me. They have to act like it's part of the job, bro. So we get there, and we tell them, yo, guys, by the way, she's pregnant. She's having stomach pains. These clowns are probably like, just another young, pregnant... Probably is what they're saying.
Women, am I right? That he's onto something. This is actually real. Women go through this all the time. This actually, I'm not sure if Tyler knows too much about this, but we talk about this sometimes, and so we can talk about this here. Women go through this all the time, where women get disregarded for having problems. Women do have a bunch of problems, and a lot of them mean nothing, and a lot of them mean something really bad is happening. Women are known to have a higher pain tolerance. And so they can go through a lot of pain without them telling you sometimes, or thinking that it's fine, especially when they're told that, oh, it's whatever. People thinking that women are super emotional, so they'll just be given an ibuprofen and told to shut up and drink some water and go to sleep when they're bleeding to death on the inside, right? And this is a problem that's been brewing for centuries, ever since most of modern medicine is built off of testing on men and males who typically don't have UTIs and fallopian tubes, that incredibly complex reproductive system in there. And we still are learning new things about the female reproductive system even today because we're so far behind. And so there's so many women who will go through and have so many issues. And there's so many girls. This happened to one of my girlfriends actually that always had a bunch of stomach pain and didn't know what was happening and had to go through 4 checkups to figure out that she actually had endometriosis, and she may actually lose one of her ovaries because it lasted for so long. And it's something that is just so sick. As somebody who has so many women in my family, and I know a lot of you all either are women or who have a female reproductive system, or you're somebody who may not, or trans men, or any sort of person who's a UTI owner, a uterus carrier. This is something that they have to go through, and having their problems disregarded and brushed off, even in the emergency room when she couldn't stand for more than 7 seconds, is a telltale something is horribly wrong. And then nothing happened. A little experience for me personally here. I actually, some of you all remember, back when I used to do more debates, one of the big reasons why I've stopped doing debates is mostly because I figured out that I have anxiety. I have clinical anxiety. It's actually high level clinical anxiety. It's actually pretty bad. It's not cute. It's not fun. I'll tell you that much. It's not very fun. My mom gave it to me, but you know how it is. She also gave me these beautiful teeth. So give and take, you know how it is. That being said, I remember a while ago, one of the last debate panels I was on, it was Hans of Hakir's panel with like a bunch of other people on there. I had a panic attack, my first ever panic attack. Actually, so sorry. This wasn't my first panic attack. My first panic attack when I was talking about neo pronouns. I was giving off my ideas on those, and in the middle of that, out of nowhere, because I was like, I want to make sure that I get this right, and then I want to talk to my community about it. I was thinking about it a lot, and then out of nowhere, boom, I felt like my heart skipping beats. I felt faint. My chest hurt. I was short of breath. There was like, a frog in my throat. It was hard to speak. My mouth was getting dry. Out of nowhere, nothing was happening. I was just sitting here just like I am right now in stream. Nothing was happening. And I was like, and I've never felt this before in my entire life. I felt my heart feel like it was stopping sometimes. I thought I was dying. I finished the segment because I was like, if I'm going to die, I want to at least finish this segment and die off stream and not on stream, because I feel like that'd be traumatic for my audience. So I was like, let me just finish the segment really quick because I think I'm dying. So I wrapped it up as soon as possible. And I was like, guys, I think I'm going to go to the ER. Without telling my parents or anything, without telling anybody, I drove myself to the ER because I didn't want to call an ambulance because an ambulance would cost a lot of money. So I drove myself to the ER and walked myself into I drove myself to the nearest hospital and walked into the ER that was open. And I told them, hey, I'm having a lot of chest pains. I feel like my heart is skipping beats and stopping. And I tried to get this out as much as I could. I could barely speak, and I'm not sure what to do, but I'm really scared. And they were like, oh, okay. And they said, just sit down there for a second. As I told them that I think I was dying and I feel like my heart is stopping and skipping beats. They were like, just sit there. And so I sat there for a little while, as it kept happening. And then after 10, 15 minutes, they came out and then took my blood pressure and then read my heart, and they were like, oh, yeah, there's something wrong. And then and then after that, I waited another 30 minutes and I got an EKG, and then I got an ultra, like a heart ultrasound or whatever, right? The beat skip is a terrifying bit. It was really terrifying. I thought I was dying. I thought I was going to die. But what made me feel like I was going to die more than the physical feeling of dying was telling them that that something was wrong with my heart, and then they told me to sit there for 40 minutes and wait for a nurse to come see me. That's what blew my mind the most. And I couldn't do anything about it. You can't do anything about it. I didn't want to stress myself out even more. If I say anything and I stress myself out even more, I feel like then I may actually just drop dead or something. I was horrified. Every single second felt like an hour. And then thankfully I found out that no, I didn't have I wasn't experiencing heart problems and needed a heart transplant or something. I wasn't dying. I was just having one of the worst panic attacks that I've ever had, and my first ever panic attack in my life. But that's a small taste of what I went through, way worse than what Michaela went through, Tyler's wife. And I think he explains it pretty well here.
And easy stomach pains, no problem. No problem. Go sit down in the waiting room. We'll get to you eventually. Well, we're there for an hour. So Kayla, this whole time, by the way, is bleeding. Bleeding to death. If you want to be honest, Kayla, it's really hard to say, but Kayla was dying. Unironically, actually, they have she's bleeding. She's dying in the waiting room, right? They're not doing anything. I hear them. They're laughing, telling jokes, popping their gum behind the desk. At this point, I'm losing my mind, right? Some girl keeps walking around, doing something on her fake talking on the phone. Oh, girl, I wish she would. You know what I mean? So I get up and I'm actually, you guys see me on stream, I'm actually very, 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 very calm in person. Okay? I don't get mad in person. I really do. I swear to God, I don't get mad. But when I do get mad in person, it's like a volcano. I get mad. I start shaking. I yell and crazy. So I walk up and I'm trying to not yell. I'm not trying to get kicked out. So I'm not trying to yell at the guy, but I'm do you guys know when she can get in? I've pause after every word. And they're like, well, when we have an open room, she can. At this point, Kayla has, okay, at this point, when I go up and ask how much longer, Kayla has fainted twice, right? Apparently, she went to use the bathroom, and she fainted in the bathroom. It was a girl's bathroom. I didn't even know. And apparently, a nurse walked in, just like ignored her, and then walked back out while she was on the ground, by the way. I didn't.
Oh, man. Oh, man. That's crazy. That feels so horrible. And I know exactly how he feels, honestly. Hey, my wife's dying. Can you help her? Yeah, okay, maybe like 40 minutes or whatever. Chewing gum, steps over her like dying body in the bathroom. Just couldn't give a shit less. No urgency whatsoever. And I know exactly how it feels. I've had family pass away here in like these hospitals, and honestly, I know exactly how it's hard to trust a hospital again. It is very hard after you get treated like that in like a life or death scenario, and it ends in death, and they're like, there's nothing more we can do. Well, there was a lot of the times it really feels like there was something you could have done, you just didn't, and now there's nothing more you can do. Because personally, I've lost family members, and I remember exactly, specifically, it happened to my aunt. It happened to my aunt, my dad's sister, who was a nurse for children. And the sickest, most ironic thing is she was a nurse for children, but never actually was able to get an actual checkup while she was an adult. In her entire adult life, she never had a checkup because she never had the money in her entire adult life to pay for a checkup. She never had like a free $70 or like $80, a couple $100, depending on like how long and how in depth the checkup is, especially if you do blood work. There's no way she had no like way to get a lot of blood work a lot of the time. And then we brought her after my grandma passed away. We brought her to my house, to our house, and then we were and for like a week she was here, and we noticed that she had some health problems, and we were like, okay, let's get her a checkup. And then we realized she never had like a real checkup. We were like, we're gonna get you one. The closest one that we get was Monday. And that weekend, I'll never forget this. That weekend where she was washing some dishes, and we were like, oh, you don't need to stress yourself out washing dishes. It's fine. She was like, no, I want to. And she was leaning on the sink, and she was leaning the whole time. Is because she didn't tell us, but she had trouble standing and breathing. I'm not sure what happened. What I do know is during that weekend, a day before Monday, so Sunday, where she was going to have her first ever checkup in her entire life, she passed away. And some people wonder why, like me and other progressives and other like leftist, socialist, progressives, whatever, why we care so much about health, why we care so much about healthcare, why we treat it so seriously. I feel like people who don't understand, who haven't like put the pieces together about what's actually happening in this country to working class people, what's actually happening to people like on the ground who suffer this system that's based off of money and greed and not saving human lives. I don't think they get how serious this is, because it can't be more. It literally cannot be more serious. This is a topic of life and death. 30,000 people a year die by being not insured or underinsured. It happens all the time. And this happens to a lot of black people in black communities as well. They die all the time, not only because they have lack of healthcare and funds to actually access that healthcare, and in some idea that they need to go and get that healthcare as well. Sometimes that something is a real problem. They've been told that like you need to get that checked up on. They're like, oh, we can, grew up in a place where they told you to just walk shit off. You're not walking off a heart attack. You die. You're not walking off losing half your blood. You die. And so it's not just women, it's so many people, it's everybody who goes through this. Women and like some minorities have it especially bad, but we all have it really bad. There's a reason why this life expectancy in this country falls apart. There's a reason why we're so far behind. There's a reason for it. The reason is money and greed and these insurance companies and the gatekeeping care and the government not doing anything about it, and in some cases stepping in to make it worse. And we can point fingers. At the end of the day, I don't want this to be one of those finger pointing videos of like this group and that group. I just want to say there is an us and there is a them, and the them have a lot of money and control these organizations, and the us die. Okay? And this is why I'll never, ever be on board with some random politician trying to tell you about access to medical care. Listen, here in Kentucky, we have a Ferrari museum. We have a Ferrari museum, and we have Ferrari dealerships. I could go to the Ferrari museum. I could go to a Ferrari dealership. I could walk on. I can get a tour of the place. I could have a guy try and sell me a car for 40 minutes straight. I do not have Ferrari money in my bank account. Doesn't matter if I've had access to a Ferrari. Doesn't matter if I can even test drive a Ferrari if I'm not going to take it home. Who cares about access? Who cares about access if I can't have it? Honestly, nobody. That's what I think. Honestly. They're like, oh, you'll have so many healthcare providers near you. Well, they can provide, but I can't receive. That's the part that they don't care about. That's the part they don't talk about. You can provide whatever you want. But if you put me in, me in that access, in that offering, you put money in between me and that offering, well, guess what? I'm not going to be able to get there. And it seems 30,000 people a year don't get there in this country alone. That's unacceptable. Nobody should have to go through what my aunt did. No one should have to go through what I did. No one should have to go through what my mom did. No one should have to go through what Tyler and his wife did. Nobody, not anybody should. No one. And some people will try and sit here and be like, oh, and other healthcare systems, well, you have to wait. You have to wait for you have to wait if your tonsils are a little swollen, or if you have a little bit of a fever. Real. You don't wait if you lose half your blood. You don't wait if you feel if you tell them that you're dying. You don't wait if you have an erratic heart rate. You don't wait if they find low blood platelets. Okay? They don't wait off of that. There's a wait time for normal things, and you can get right in if you need to. Here in this country, there's a wait time for normal checkups, and there's a wait time if you're dying. And if you can't pay it, well, I hope you have enough for Karen to pay the goddamn Reaper. Because outside of that, it's useless. I don't know, it's just sick. It really is sick. And the craziest thing is that we do have the best healthcare in the world. It's the same way as that we have the best, we also have the best train system in the world. We just don't use it. Because either we can't or we're not allowed to. Either that be through moneyed interest or people who just don't care to kick it into gear to actually make it happen. There's something wrong in this country, and it's killing us. And it's sick.
I didn't know this until after. Thank God I didn't. I would have went crazy. Anyway, so then we sit back down. I'm like, okay, when's the room going to open up? When the room going to open up? Blah, blah, blah. So this was an hour. So Kayla was bleeding internally for at least an hour in the ER waiting room. So this guy comes in, this 17-year-old, and his hand is broken. I hear he has a broken hand. He's laughing with his friends. I broke it 3 days ago. I hit a wall. Okay, he said this. This was, by the way, these guys came in 20 minutes after us. Bro, these guys got called in to the room, called back before us. They came in 20 minutes after us. Anyway.
Now, I don't want to say somebody said racism detected. I don't know what race Tyler and Michaela is. She seems pretty, I think I saw a picture of her. She seems pretty white. It's not racism. It's misogyny, brother. It's misogyny, brother. Women deal with this all the time. If you're somebody who's born with a UD, you've dealt with it. Do I have any UD havers in chat? Do I have any people with a female reproductive? Do I have any AFABs in chat? Any AFABs in chat who have a horrible healthcare experience with you not being believed, not taken seriously, seen as overly emotional or some shit like that when you're having a real medical issue? It happens all the time. I don't know a woman who hasn't, if I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know one that hasn't. It's so pervasive, it's so sick, and it's killing so many of our girls. That it blows my mind that we allow this to happen. This should be issue number 1. The only problem is death is pretty common, and we're just kind of used to it. We're just kind of used to being treated like garbage. And I think it's time to do something about it. It needs to stop. It needed to stop a long time ago. That exactly happened to me. Yeah, you're like, I have a real problem. You get turned away. You have to go to like 2 or 3 doctors. You need to like beg or like plead or like force them to give you like medical care. I've had women, like I've heard women talk to other women be like, oh yeah, you need to force them to give you healthcare. And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, you have to go in there and you need to be like, I need to be checked up right now. You need to cause a scene. You need to get in there. And then when they tell you to leave, you say, no, I want this check and this test and that test. And I'm not going until you do it. And then they do it. And then they go, oh man, oh wow, you're on death's door. Did you know that? And then they kick it into high gear. It's all fun and games until you're dead. And then they go, oh man, how could this happen? Well, I know how it could happen. You know how it could happen. Tyler and his wife knows how it can happen. Way too many people in this country knows how it can happen. And it is sick.
Finally, an hour, I think it was an hour and 27 minutes that Kayla was bleeding out in the lobby. They finally call her name, right? And at this point, she tries to stand up. She collapses. I have to carry her. I start to like try and like lean her on me, like walk her back there. And the nurse is like, does she need a wheelchair? Kayla goes dead weight, so that she falls.
Maybe.
And she's like, yeah, I think she needs a wheelchair. Bro, this nurse walks to the wheelchair. Dude, I'm sorry to say, bro, she is walking to the wheelchair. Not even like a fast sprint, not like a fast walk, not a jog.
A little bit of urgency, a little bit of urgency here. Now, my wife is literally dying on your floor.
Lose it, right? Finally, she walks slowly back with the wheelchair. We have to pick Kayla up and put her on there. This bitch is like behind her. So Kayla's wearing sandals because we had to rush there. Kayla's sandal falls off. I'm like, oh my God. So I picked it up, and then her other one falls off. I'm like, that's weird. I'll go pick it up. So again, Kayla's like just like wide-eyed, eyes rolled back, just like there's not even there in the wheelchair. And the nurse is like trying to talk to her, not even acknowledging that, right? Then we finally get back to the room, and that nurse is like, yo, can I get a hand here? So like 3 other nurses come and run. And the nurses are trying to talk to her. I say she can't talk. Look at her. And this one nurse, I'm going to get mad. And this one nurse, by the way, is like, oh no, she can talk. She has to talk. This stupid bitch didn't even look her in the face, didn't acknowledge her, didn't know that she was unconscious, didn't know anything. She had the audacity to say that. Right? So at this point,
yeah, that's a medical horror story right there. And like, I want you to really understand, in this moment, his wife could possibly be 30 minutes from dying. Like, she is in this moment dying. She is almost dead. And this is just I would lose it. I don't know. I would 100% lose it. His wife is incredibly close. Yeah. With more dilly-dallying, with more waiting, she could have died right there that night. Yeah. My mother refused to take me to the doctor for extreme stomach pain, and she finally caved, and my appendix was about to rupture, and my intestines were extremely irritated and inflamed. Ah, yes, I love not listening to your children when they tell you that there's something wrong. Oh, those silly children, they never know what's up. Whatever. Yeah, you don't know how many poor like girls and like AFABs like across the world have lost their like part of their reproductive capability, all of it, or just straight up died because nobody gave them the time of day and nobody cared to actually think about them and be like, oh, this is urgent. I need to take care of it. I need to do it. This is the type of, like, when people tell you that like misogyny isn't like, it's not really that big or not real, just remember that. Just remember that, okay? Just remember that for a second. How so many people, even in this country, have lost like part of their uterus, their ovaries, both of them, one of them, or something, like a tube or something, due to this medical malpractice that has been fomenting in this country and across the world for centuries. And women are still reaping what those people who couldn't give a shit less about their life have sown.
I'm about to start slamming. So I just loudly twice.
Slamming time.
Not very simple. I said, "You're all clowns," just twice. And anyway, after it was, bro, I had these. So by the way, for the last week, I like wake up and I fall asleep. By the way, when I wake up to the first hour of the day, all I see is these 3 nurses' face: the wheelchair nurse, the nurse that said she has to talk, and the guy at the front desk. It's literally all I see every morning. It's actually crazy. Anyway, like I'm so mad. Like I was so mad. Anyway. After that, all the other nurses were great. By the way, all the other nurses were great.
That's the craziest thing about it, is that sometimes, like, what stands between your family member and death can be like a good or bad nurse who like actually cares that day. You know, it's one of the big reasons why I think nurses should be paid a lot better. I really think they do really important jobs. They really do.
Doctors, the surgeon, great. All the people that we had, great. The people that took care of Kayla after the surgery, great. So they had to cut out one of her tubes after that. But anyway, I counted, bro, like from the point that we got there to the time that Kayla got out of surgery, it was 7.5, 8 hours. Dude, so long story short, not to get into it too much, I'm going to bring up, bro, what the is NA Healthcare, by the way? But you want to sit here and tell me that my taxes do anything for anybody? Bro, and we haven't got the bill yet. We haven't got the bill. Dare I see the bill? But what am I paying taxes for if my significant other is in the ER for 2 hours dying? Anyway, so I've been...
No, bailouts for insurance companies. It's definitely not going to keeping her alive. It's definitely not going to keeping any of us alive. A lot of it. And this is how I can actually really see a lot of people being like, yo, screw taxes. I think it's the opposite way around. Like, this situation happens and you shouldn't go screw taxes. You should go make my taxes do something. You know, I can 100% see how somebody looks around and comes to the, like, you know, like wakes up, looks around with like sleep in their eyes and looks at this world that was built, that they were born into, and goes, I'm just so sick of this. I can't have anything to do with this. We need to just get rid of taxes. If you're not going to do anything for me, then I'm not going to be paying taxes, right? I think it should be the opposite way around, where we go, I'm paying taxes, you will do something for me, and not just, you know, not pay taxes or whatever. I think there's going to be a lot more suffering and pain, but I can see where that comes from. I can see where it goes, right? How you're like, oh yeah, my tax money went to like blowing up some children, like turning some children in the Middle East and in Africa into red mist, right? Wow, how crazy. Oh my tax money went to some, like, buying some Viagra for like for some goddamn soldier or something, right? Oh, my money went to you know, like the paycheck to a politician who's been in office for 50 years and who's never passed a single piece of legislation to ever help any of his constituents ever in his entire life, right? And a lot of people don't even know who this guy is. Everybody just does the vote for this party box all day. And he's just been able to reap it. Yeah, and if you're like, I can see you looking at that and going, this isn't working. I need to get out of here. I need to do something if you're not going to do anything. I just don't think we need to make them do something. But I get it. I get it. And like, oh, you're about to become Doomer? No, Doomer fuel. This isn't Doomer fuel. This is to understand what situation we're in. You need to understand how bad things are so we understand how good they can get. There is a world where Michaela would have been rushed into the ER the second they figured out something was wrong and would have done it. There was a world where they would have even went to go see if something was wrong and gotten that checkup and not worried about it. And it's just like a common thing. Something's wrong, get a checkup, period. In this country, we don't do that. Something's wrong, we're like, maybe it'll be okay. And then like in 20 years, you die. And it's just like, oh, what could happen? Our lives are just forfeit to the machine of the insurance companies and these drug companies who couldn't care less about us to only improve their profit margins, and who skimp out on all of the care that keeps people alive. It's just, it's wild to me. I should never have to worry about getting an ambulance. I should never have to. This reminds me of like GoFundMe, right? GoFundMe had to release a public statement to senators to be like, you guys need to do something, because GoFundMe was made for like silly, goofy, and fun things. GoFundMe is now I'm going to be evicted and I'm going to die on the street. Please donate something. It's my friend, my girlfriend, my whatever's dying. Please help me. It's my pet, my pet's dying. I don't have the money. Please help me. There's something wrong and I don't have the money for this bill. Please help me. Like, hey guys, can you help me out with this? Can you help me out with this like important medical bill? My insurance company said I'm not going to be, they're not going to be covering it, even though I paid them like an arm and a leg to make sure they keep me alive, and then they skimp out the second I actually need them. You know. That's not what GoFundMe should be for. Yeah, we have to GoFundMe because my government has gone to go fuck me. And I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of it. Whoever happened to of the people for the people? It's of the people. It's of corporate interest and it's for nobody, it seems. And so yeah, I get how people are mad. And I get how he feels. I've been through it. No one should have to experience that, but we do. This is why we do what we do. This is why we fight for what we fight for. This is why.
We've been dealing with that for a little bit. Afterwards, it was pretty sad because it's like, bro, ectopic pregnancies are actually very rare. It's like 2 out of 100 pregnancies happen. There's nothing you can do to stop it. So
I wouldn't, look, I'm going to disagree with him a bit here. I wouldn't say that's rare. 2 out of 100, that's 2%. That's actually really high. Would you get into a car that had a 2% chance of blowing up if you turned the key? Just like an example, right? Would you get into a plane if like on the outside it said there's a 2% chance of it crashing? would you drink out of a water bottle that had a 2% chance of being cyanide? Don't answer that question. But yeah, like it's just like 2% is really high. 2% happens all the time. All the time.
It is what it is. I kept saying that, by the way. It is what it is, I guess.
That's 1 in 50.
Really, really, really unfortunate. So that's where we've been the last 2 weeks. Bro. Oh yeah, and then after that, after Kayla's surgery, I called my mom, and at this point, when Kayla's already in surgery, I was like, kick me out. So
I would also call my mom if my girlfriend was dying. If I'm gonna be honest with you, I feel him there. Mommy, I need you.
Then I'm like, I am like absolutely yelling in the waiting room. Like I'm talking louder than I've ever yelled while I'm on the phone with my mom. And I'm like cussing out all these staffers, and the police officer was there, and everybody. So this guy like turns the corner after I hang up, and it tries to tell me to be quiet, bro. Dude, do they not understand? Like me, I'm sorry, but I should be able to yell without getting kicked out of the hospital. Because the way we see it is, again, this is terrible to think about. It's crazy to say, bro. So Kayla was actively dying, and then our child did in fact die, right? So it's like, if I can yell, bro, just let me yell. Like, shut up. Just let me yell. That's crazy. But anyway, so ectopic pregnancies, they don't have any chance of surviving at any point if they don't make it to the uterus. So it wasn't like it could be saved or anything like that. Thankfully, Kayla's all right. Kayla is doing a lot better. We had our checkup today. At like noon today, we had our 2-week checkup. Doctor said everything looks good. She's still a little low on blood, so she gets exhausted easily. They said you gotta wait a little bit to try again, and there is a higher chance that it can happen again now that she's had one, but it's like a 10% chance. And dude, for the love of all that is mighty, can we not hit that 10% chance for the love of God, man? Like, come on, bro. But this time you'll know, so you get more checkups if you have it happen once, right? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, in this country, we don't do preventative care. We do treatment. So basically, if something bad is happening, we don't give a shit. But once you're dying, that's when things get kicked up in the high gear. And that's why our life expectancy is so short. You know, like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You know how dogs is and all that. Yeah, it's sick. I'm glad they're okay. I'm sorry about the loss of the baby, but there was nothing that can be done there.
So they can catch it this time, and they get a shot, and then you don't lose the tube. She had one of her tubes, and even if it happens again, and you lose both tubes, you can get like an injection. Nowadays, they have like an injection where they inject the sperm into the whatever it is, the egg directly or whatever it is.
So
but bro, at that point, I recently saw a post about a doctor at a sperm bank refilling all the things with his own sperm. Yeah, IVF. So if God forbid that ever happens, we have to go there. Bro, I am watching that $1 billion in exposure vessel I will watch that while they take it to the back room. I'll watch it when they implant it. I will permanently watch. Think about.
I gotta keep an eye on that cum. That is true. You do gotta. I think you're allowed to do that. I think you are allowed to keep. I think you are allowed to keep an eye on the cum. I think you are actually. You have to. You're not allowed to just like be there all the time, but you can keep a pretty good eye on the cum if you choose to. That documentary he's talking about is called Our Father. Oh geez. Oh geez. But yeah. But yeah, I guess to wrap this up, thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler, for showing a light on this, because it is really important. There's so many women, and I see it happening all the time. I get a new woman friend, and then I get a new batch of horror stories about how they've been treated when it comes to the medical industry, and it's just horrifying. We need healthcare for everyone. We need to get rid of these insurance companies in the way that they in the way, and make them unrecognizable to the way that they work right now. Because a recognizable insurance company to an American insurance company to another system is something that should not exist. Period. That's why. Okay, it's so bad it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be a trope of watching people die because their insurance said that they're not going to be covering their covering the money that it would take to make them live. It's just not something that can be done. It's not something we can allow happen. It's not. We can't do it. And it sucks that this happened, and I don't want it to ever happen again. It probably will, unfortunately. It's just the nature of what we have, but it can be better. We can have more. We can have nice things, and there's no reason why we can't. And that's why I really appreciate this, him coming out and talking about this story, to make other people cognizant. He has way more reach than I could ever possibly dream of. And so that's why I wanted to go through this. It's so important. Like, if you're somebody who needs help, please go there and do it. There are also ways for you to get out around the medical bill. Just not paying it is possible. Definitely, especially in some states, to just not pay it, especially if you just can't. There are other payment methods. Asking them specifically about an itemized list of everything that you are charged for. I can tell you now that I've known people who have had who have had the type of bill that they would be paying off for the rest of their life go down to something they can pay off in a weekend by asking them for an itemized list of everything that they're charging you for. That happens as well. And a lot of the times, especially if you just go to the ER, they can just be like, we can't really charge you for this, especially if you have nothing. So get that help if you need it. Don't worry about it. It sucks. It's really bad, but your life is more worth it than that. Please go get help if you need it, and don't let them tell you to wait. You need it, okay? And you're worth it. Come here. Oh. Hi. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there. If you're enjoying the content, hit the subscribe button. If you don't, it'll make Boo very sad. I know a bunch of you who are watching are not subscribed. Join the frenzy. You won't regret it. Thank you, Boo.